What's going on, guys? I am Alejandro Mendoza, and this video is going to be my complete theory on what I think happened to the missing O2 digidestined. So, before we get into the video, I quickly want to say why I'm doing this video. First off, it's just because I really want to do this video, because I actually think, this theory that I have, it actually could be what happened to the O2 digidestined. And the second reason is because during my last video, which was part 2 to my theory/discussion video on Dark Gennai's plan, I began to go over the O2 digidestined and how I think that they're going to be what ultimately causes Kari to begin to fall to the darkness. So obviously in that video, I went over what I think happened between Kari and the O2 cast, but it was mostly a summary, not really too detailed. So in this video, I'm going to go over Kari's side of the story, but it's going to be way more detailed, and the same goes for what actually happened to them. I'm going to be very detailed in it. So with that being said, let's get this video started. Now, during the last video, I talked about how this would be brought up in Symbiosis. So, and I'm going to also do that in this video. So obviously, I think during Symbiosis that Mako is obviously, going to be very depressed. She's going to be, crying over, Mekomon, and the fact that Mekomon's no longer there with them. And that the others are going to have to comfort her, obviously. And Kari is probably going to be one of the main ones that comforts her because, she's obviously the other main character, and she's also a very sympathetic and empathetic person. So, here's how I see it going down. So Kari is going over to Mako. Mako's crying. Kari's going over to try and comfort her. Mako's going on about how she feels useless. How she feels she failed Mekomon not just as a partner but also as her friend, and that she just feels like she should have been able to do something instead of just stand by and just could only watch as Mekomon gave into the virus basically. And Kari, she's listening, and Mako stops for a little bit, and then Kari responds to Mako by saying I know how that feels. And obviously Mako is very surprised at this, very shocked, because Kari's probably always come out to her as a very strong person, not someone who is weak. So she obviously looks towards Kari and is what do you mean? How do you know how it feels? You're very strong. How would you know how this feels? And Kari looks towards Mako and is we never told you about our other friends, did we? The other friends, obviously, being the O2 digidestined, because I don't think any of the original cast have actually told Mako about them, because she obviously saw Ken as the Digimon Emperor, but there wasn't a scene where they actually explained who Ken was or who the O2 digidestined were to Mako, so I'm pretty sure Mako doesn't really know about them. So Mako obviously is looking towards Kari and the other kids, and Kari then goes and begins to tell Mako about how after the first adventure, after Digimon Adventure, the first one, that 3 years later, a new threat arrived in the digital world, and ultimately, that led to new digidestined being chosen to help protect it, and those digidestined obviously being, Davis, Yoli, Cody, and Ken. And she begins telling the story of how it all started, where Davis and all of them got their Digivices, and how the whole adventure started, how Adventure 2 started, and just going over everything that happened. And then she eventually gets to a point where she begins to actually talk about the O2 digidestined, maybe make her ask what were they like, and Kari begins talking about each one of them individually. She starts off with Cody, saying Cody was very calm and collective. He was even though he was young for his age, he was very wise and he was responsible. Then Yoli, how she was very brash and loud, but she usually always had the best intentions. And then Ken probably going over how he was originally the Digimon Emperor, but eventually, came over to the good side, after they beat him, and while they were reluctant to let him in at first, that one of them was really adamant about getting Ken back to join the group. And like, because of that, like, Ken and Nelly joined, and they realized that Ken was just like this really good, kind-hearted person. And like after she gets through Ken, they're like, Mako asks like, who was the person like who got Ken to, who like, was so supportive of him. And like Kari like Kari pauses for a second, and like Mako notices this and is like, Kari, is something wrong? And like Kari's just like, no. And like she says like that the person who was like very supportive of Ken like was Davis, like that he was like very adamant and very forgiving of Ken. And then she begins like talking about Davis, like like how like maybe like during the start of the adventure, like everyone like kind of like had maybe like some doubts about Davis, but like ultimately throughout the adventure and like throughout like getting to know Davis more and more, like Kari like truly began to see like just how like a good a leader Davis was, and like how good a friend he was, like because he obviously he was the first person to forgive Ken and was like really adamant about wanting Ken to join the group. And he knows how to like obviously keep the group strong, like keep them just like happy and motivated, because like he's always making a goof of himself to like, and it always like gets the others happy, and like he knows how to keep them strong basically. So eventually like Kari just like ends up going through each one of them, like going through all their personalities and who they are, and Kari's just like talking about how they were all like really good friends, and like how by the end of the adventure they were just like very good friends, and that really cared for one another, and that everything was fine until that day. And Mako like looks for Taurus, and she's like what day? And like Kari tells Mako that like it happened around 3 months after Malamayotismon's defeat, because me personally, I think that the O2 Digidestined went missing a little after Diaboromon Strikes Back, and Diaboromon Strikes Back takes place 3 months after Malamayotismon's defeat, so a little after 3 months, So like Kari's like it happened a little after 3 months after Malamayotismon's defeat. It was after we defeated Diaboromon. After Diaboromon came back, and she tells Mako that like it was maybe a few days after it, and like that the Digidestined themselves like decided to have a day of celebration, celebrating Diaboromon's defeat, and so all the Digidestined get together, the O2 cast, and obviously the original, they all get together to celebrate Diaboromon's defeat, and that they were just like hanging out with each other, just having a good time overall, and just like overall celebrating. And but obviously as the day progressed, like everybody had to start leaving. And here are the reasons I think that everybody had to leave, like for every single one. So for Ty, probably like maybe a soccer practice or a soccer game, and he's also in like high school, and Davis is in middle school, so like Davis couldn't like Davis could probably like go with him, but like Davis would probably want to hang out with Kari and everybody. So like Ty goes, Matt would probably have a concert. Sora would probably go to that concert because during Diaboromon Strikes Back, like I'm pretty sure they were together, but like that actually makes me wonder. Maybe the O2 Digidestined going missing, maybe that also caused like Sora and Matt to break up, because they're obviously not together in Tri, or they don't seem to be together. So I wonder if that maybe has something to do with them breaking up. Okay, sorry about that. Sorry, went off a little bit there. But all right, so yeah, Sora goes to see Matt's concert. TK, maybe he's going with a girl to the concert, because we kind of had that scene in Reunion where he was talking to Kari and was saying like how he's gonna go to a concert with a girl. So like maybe something like that. Mimi, she probably has to go back to America, considering like she's on vacation. So like she probably has to leave pretty soon back to America. Joe, Joe, he'd probably just have like a big exam he needs to study for. Izzy, maybe he's going to the computer club, where he's getting an award of some kind, like for how smart he is or something. But like those are basically what I think is going to get everybody to like everybody eventually leaves, and it comes down to Kari, Davis, Ken, Yuli, and Cody. And they're just like they're doing their usual thing, just talking with each other, having fun. And eventually though, Kari has to leave as well, like because she like has a birthday party to go to, because that's always the thing with Kari, is that in like pretty much every movie, like, you know, it's always that like she needs to go to a birthday party, because like it happened in our war game, and in Reunion she had a birthday party to go to. So, you know, maybe she has a birthday party to go to here. So, you know, Kari says bye to all the, you know, says bye to Davis, Cannoli, and Cody, and goes off to the birthday party. And here is like where I see it dividing, where like the two things, like the two perspectives, obviously, like, you know, Kari's side of the story and what actually happened, are like where like the big thing divides them. So obviously, like, you know, I'm going with Kari's side first. So Kari, like, you know, she goes to the birthday party. She's there for a bit, like say like 20-30 minutes past, like, you know, since she left the O2 cast. And then, like, you know, as she's at the party though, like her D terminal, like, you know, beeps, and her D terminal beeps, and she gets a message from Davis and is asking for help in the digital world with a very strong Digimon. So, you know, she obviously excuses herself from the party, and her and Gatsumon begin to look for a computer, which they eventually find. And they're looking for like the area where they're fighting, because like Davis sent like the location of where they're fighting. So she's looking for that area in the digital world, and but she can't find it because like you know, and she's wondering why. And like Gatomon maybe suggests that the Digiport was destroyed during their fight. So Kari has to pick a Digiport that's really close to the area. So she goes through the port. Her and Gatomon, like, you know, you know, they go through the port, and they're running towards the area where Davis said to meet them. And, you know, Kari's just like looking at her Digivice, trying to find any signals. And you know, she's just the whole time like just like hoping that they're all okay. And, you know, eventually they stop, like, you know, like probably like Kari would Digivolve Gatomon into Anjouamon so they could get there faster. So, like, you know, Anjouamon eventually stops, and, you know, like, you know, tells Kari to look, and like, you know, there's just this whole destroyed battlefield, you know, just rubble everywhere. It's just like a completely destroyed area, but like Kari can't see anyone. Like Kari and Anjouamon can't see anybody. Like they can't see Davis, they can't see their Digimon, they can't see the enemy they're supposed to be fighting. So, like, you know, obviously that makes Kari and Anjouamon worried. So eventually, like, you know, they go down to the ground. Probably Kari, like, you know, Kari and Gatomon begin searching around the area, like, you know, trying to find them. You know, just like calling their names, looking at the Digivice for signals, but like, you know, they can't seem to find anything. And like it comes to a point where Kari's just like questioning, like, you know, where are they? Like, you know, just becoming very worried over them. And like she's like kind of stuck in her own thoughts when Gatomon like snaps her out of it. Like, you know, she's like, Kari, there's somebody over there. And, you know, Kari looks, and like she can see like a silhouette of somebody. And that's when her Digivice begins beeping, and she notices it's a Digivice signal. So, you know, obviously her and Gatomon run over to, like, you know, like to go help. And, you know, as like, you know, they're getting closer and closer, Kari like is able to see who it is, and she can tell by the clothing and the hairstyle that it's Davis. And like she like sees him all bruised, you know, just all battered from the battle. And like, you know, Kari like, you know, calls out to Davis, like, you know, and like, you know, eventually reaches him and like asks, like, you know, if he's okay, you know. And, you know, Davis like isn't really responding. He like looks towards Kari, and he's like, Kari, like, you know, like he's like, why weren't you here? And like, you know, Kari, you know, obviously is like, you know, I just got your message, I came here as soon as I could. And like, you know, she's just worried about him and everybody else. And like, you know, obviously like she sees that nobody else is around Davis, so she's like, where are, like, you know, Ken and the others? And like Davis doesn't respond for a little bit, and that makes Kari worried. But she's like, Davis, where are they? And like, you know, Davis eventually answers with like Ken, Yuli, and Cody. They all already went home, and, you know, that gives some relief to Kari. But she then realizes that Veemon isn't there with Davis, and she's like, Davis, where's Veemon? And, you know, when she asked that to Davis, like, you know, he tenses up, like, you know, he just like everything just like kind of stops for him. And like, you know, Kari notices this, and she's like, Davis, what happened? And like, you know, Davis like tells Kari, like, you know, Veemon's dead. And, you know, at this, like, Kari just very shocked, like she's like, you know, what happened? And like, you know, like Davis like you know, like he begins like telling the whole story of what happened, like that that they went to the digital world, Davis and the others, and they ultimately encountered a Digimon that began to attack them, so they obviously had to fight back. And that Imperial Dramon, was obviously fighting against the Digimon, but when it seemed like they were about to win, or when everything seemed like everything was gonna be okay, the evil Digimon that attacked them went towards say Yoli or Cody or Davis and Ken, and Imperial Dramon had to throw himself in front of the attack to stop it, and he got wounded very badly, and the evil Digimon was about to now that Imperial Dramon was wounded, was going to kill all the kids, but Imperial Dramon couldn't let that happen, so he used his last remaining strength to sacrifice himself to stop the Digimon from killing them. And Davis goes on to say how obviously it was very it was very traumatic for both him and Ken, because obviously Davis would be sad if Veemon died, but Ken would probably be a lot more, because Ken has obviously lost Wormmon before. He knows the pain of losing Wormmon, and Wormmon had just finally come he'd finally come to terms with himself, Ken, and Wormmon had finally come back too, and then to see that happen again would probably be way more traumatic. It would be very traumatic, and he'd probably take it harder than Davis would. So Davis says how after the battle they were paying their respects to Veemon and Wormmon, and how when everybody was leaving he wanted to stay just to mourn Veemon in silence, because he probably wouldn't want to see he probably wouldn't want the others to see him cry, because he probably thinks as the leader he can't show weakness, he has to be the one who's very strong. And ultimately he decided to stay, and he told Yoli and Cody that Ken needed them Ken needed them more than he needed them right now. So Davis decided to stay, and he just ultimately ends up finishing the story to Kari, saying that he just decided to stay because he wanted to mourn Veemon in silence. And Kari is obviously very she wants to comfort Davis, after hearing all this, she hugs Davis, and tells Davis, that it's everything's gonna be okay, Veemon will come back, just we're all just trying to comfort him. And she expects probably Davis to just either cry onto her shoulder, or just to mourn Veemon, have a Davis just use Kari as a way, as a means for comfort. But Davis surprisingly, he just instead of hugging Kari back or something, he says, "Kari, where the heck were you?" Pushing Kari off him, and he's "Where the heck were you? We needed you here. Where were you guys?" And Kari would obviously be very shocked at this, considering Davis has always been very kind towards her. Even when he was angry, he would always be very nice and kind towards her, and this would obviously shock her. And she's like "Davis, I told you, I just got your message. I came here as fast as I could." And Davis is "Stop lying to me, Kari. We and he ultimately says that everybody that he got a message that he and the others got a message telling them to go to the digital world long before Davis sent the message to Kari. And Kari's "I never got a message like that." And what Davis does is he pulls out his D terminal, and he shows Kari, he's "Here's the message. It's from Gennai. He told us all to come here, and told us all to fight an evil Digimon, to come here and protect the digital world." And Kari gets her D terminal out to try and prove that she didn't have the message, she never got a message like that. And she pulls it out, and she's looking for the messages, but then she notices though that the message that Davis showed her also appeared on her D terminal too. And she's just looking in disbelief at it. She's "What? This wasn't here before." And but Davis right now is really angry. He's "See, why would you lie to me?" He's "Why didn't you come here? We all needed you." And he's "I know you guys had your own things to do, but this is the digital world we're talking about. You guys should have been here to help us." Because obviously when it comes to the digital world and things like that, the digidestined will drop whatever it is they're doing and go immediately to protect the digital world or stop an evil Digimon. Because we see that in a reunion where Mac has to cancel his concert because obviously Digimon are invading the real world, and like it would probably go even more so like if a friend was in danger, like you just drop everything and go and try to help them, and like Kari's obviously just like like in shock at all this. She's like like she like is trying to like get Davis to see like that she like actually didn't get the message, like she's like trying to say like Davis, I never got that message. I don't know how it's here now, but I never got it. But like Davis is just like really angry right now because obviously Beamon died and everything, and Davis like just like eventually like just keeps like berating Kari, like saying like how Kari and the others don't care about Davis, Cannully, and Cody, and Kari like while she's like obviously like she's obviously like getting very hurt by this, and like eventually at some point she'd probably like like just like it probably would turn to anger, and like she'd slap Davis like saying like, how can you say that we don't care about you after everything we've been through, like don't you have faith in us? And like at hearing that, like Davis was like I did have faith in you, like like that during the battle with the evil Digimon, like during the battle with the evil Digimon, like he had faith that they would show up, that that Kari and everybody would show up to help them. That like even when like everybody else like say Yoli or Cody like were like you're like where are they, like are they not coming, like Davis was like no don't worry, they'll come, like he was the one like that was like encouraging everybody. But like then when Beamon died, like that hope that Kari and the others would show up and help was shattered. And like eventually it just gets to a point where like like after like Davis reveals all this to her, like that like that they had broken like their trust with Davis and all of them, like that they had failed them basically, that they should have been there, and like like saying all this stuff, like that he had lost his faith in them. Like eventually like Davis is just like Davis is just eventually that Davis eventually says like you guys obviously don't care about us, like like after like Kari like say after like he explains to Kari like that he kept his faith in them, like he like says you guys like you showed just how little you care about us by not coming here when we needed you the most. And he begins to walk away, and Kari like is like, Davis, that isn't true. Like she tries to reach out to him and like like grab him, but like Davis is like he pushes away her hand, like he knocks away her hand, and he's like stop lying to me, you guys obviously don't care about us. And like Kari's just like getting to a point where like she's about to start crying, and what Davis does is he's like since you guys have shown just how little you care about us, we're probably not even we're not part of your group, are we? We were always just tools for you to use to help the digital world. We never meant anything to you, did we? And Kari's like trying to like say that isn't true, but Davis is just, he isn't buying it. So like what he does is he's like, since we're no longer part of your group, he grabs his he grabs his goggles, he takes them off, and he's like, then give Ty these back, since we're obviously not a part of your group. And he just like throws them to the ground. And after that he just like, goodbye Kari, and he walks off, and like Kari's just like too emotionally distraught to go after him, and she just like she falls to her knees and she begins sobbing. Like she picks up Davis's goggles in her hands and she's just sobbing. And it's at this point that the others finally get there. Like they got the message too, but they were all busy with their own thing. But they're now finally there. So like Ty shows up, and like everybody shows up, and they go to Kari, and like Ty obviously asks Kari what's wrong, and like Kari just doesn't say anything though. Like she's just like sobbing. But eventually she just like she doesn't turn to Ty, but like she has the goggles in her hands, and like she shows them to Ty, and she's like, big brother, why? And after that Kari like explains to the whole original cast what just happened, like what Davis told her had happened with the evil Digimon, and like everybody's just like in shock at this, and they plan on going to like all the 02 cast like houses tomorrow to apologize to them for not being there. So like everybody goes home. Ty like is like trying to comfort Kari, like saying like don't worry, like like we'll apologize to them, and like everything will be okay, like that they can still fix this, that they can make up with Davis and the others. And like, Kari, like obviously, like, this coming from her brother, like, it leaves hope in her heart. And so like, she's like maybe we can, she's thinking maybe we can, like, make up. So obviously, everybody goes to sleep, and then it's the next day. So, and they're all going to meet with the others. They're all going to, like, Davis, Ken, Yuli, and Cody's houses to, like, talk to them, and say they're sorry. Like, say Matt and Joe go to Cody's. Izzy, TK and Joe go to Cody's. Izzy and Matt go to Ken. Sora and Mimi, like, say, like, Mimi's flight got canceled. Like, they go to Yoli. And Ty and Kari go to Davis's house. And, they finally make it, all the Digidestined make it to their houses, and, they're knocking on their doors. And, obviously, the parents answer, and, like, they ask, like, if, say, Davis is there, like, it just depends, like, on who they're going to. Like, right now, like, this would be, Ty and Kari going to Davis's house, but all of them are going to get, like, a very similar response. So, like, they ask if Davis is there, and the parents are like, oh, they did, they're like, oh, I guess it really was true what they said. And, like, Ty and Kari are confused. And the parents, like, let them in, like, and they explain to Ty, Kari, and, like, all the other parents of Cody, Yoli, and Ken, like, they explain to all the original cast that yesterday, like, after they came back from the digital world, that they decided, like, that Gennai had sent them another email, like, saying that, like, there was another threat to the digital world, like, that like, there was a new threat rising, and that, like, Gennai sent a message to all the 02 Digidestined besides Kari and TK, saying that, like, he needed them, like, he needed them to be the ones, like, that, like, none of the original cast, just like that. He wanted just the 02 cast to be the ones to help, obviously, protect the digital world. And, like, the parents are explaining this to all the original cast, and, like, the original cast the entire time were just, like, in this belief. They're, like, like, wondering, like, why Gennai decided to, like, send it to all the 02 kids, but not them. And, eventually, like, the parents, like, also, give, like, they also, like, give, all the original kids, like, a note left by each one of the kids. Like, Davis left a note for, like, Kari, Ty, and all of them. Cody left a note, they all left a note, and, like, in the note, like, it explains, like, that, they don't know when they're going to come back, like, or if they will come back, because, like, Gennai explained that it was going to be a very, long and arduous journey, like, and, like, but, like, that they don't want to, like, see the original Digidestined again, and, that, like, if they do, like, then, like, they won't be, like, comrades anymore, like, because, like, because of the fact that, they weren't there when, they needed them the most. And after, like, reading the letter, like, Kari breaks down, and all the original cast are just in disbelief at this. Now, obviously, after this, like, there would obviously be skepticism, like, among the Digidestined, like, they'd be like how could they, like, like, they'd be thinking, like, did some, like, like, they'd be thinking there's another reason for this, like, like, maybe hoping that, like, that they were just kidding, like, that they would, like, not see them again. And, like, like, they'd probably, like, search the digital world for them, like, searching, like, trying to find them, like, for a while. But, like, as time passes, though, they see that, like, that the 02 Digidestined were serious. And, like, like, even though, like, they're looking for them and trying to find them, like, they can't. And, like, they don't show up at school either. Like, they're just, by all accounts, they just appear, like, that they decided that, like, they were going to stay in the digital world to help Gennai, and, like, they didn't want to see the original cast again. And, like, they maybe try emailing Gennai, but Gennai won't respond to them either. And, it eventually just becomes to a point where it's, like, all the original cast, Kari included, like, they just have to, like, they have to kind of accept that, like, that whatever, like, like, that the 02 cast are, like, kind of gone, like, that, like, they decided that they didn't want to be friends with them anymore. And, like, well, like, obviously they wouldn't like that, like, because they're some of their best friends, like, it just kind of became a fact they kind of had to accept. and like ultimately like that just like left them like feeling like a rift between them and the O2 cast. And I feel like that's why they've been like not having like as big reactions as they should when like like when obviously Ken reappeared as the Digimon Emperor. Like that's why like that rift caused it. And ultimately that's going to be it for Kari's side of the story. So thank you all for watching. I did not expect this video to go on this long because it's already at 30 minutes. I felt like I'd be able to cover both parts of this theory just in one video, like relatively soon, but I guess not. So yeah, so this is going to be obviously Kari's side of the story. I will have to make another video discussing obviously what actually happened to them. So like I will make that video very soon. Like sorry that I didn't get into it yet. Like I just really wanted to be like to go into detail about Kari's side of things as well as what I think actually happened to them. So yeah, I'm just this went on a lot longer than I thought. But overall, if you enjoyed the video, maybe leave a like, and if you're enjoying the content I'm producing, maybe consider subscribing. And yeah, if you have any thoughts on my videos, like or just like thoughts on Digimon in general, or just basically anything, leave it down in the comments. So once again, sorry I didn't get into what I think actually happened to the O2 cast, but I really wanted to give a detailed explanation of Kari's side, and in the next video it will be a very detailed explanation of what I think actually happened to the O2 cast. So I am Alejandro Mendoza. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye.